Awesome.
And here we go. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Breakfast with Disaster, where we tell you all the worst things that can happen so that you can avoid them. I'm Dan Bauer from Serve Pro, and you can see here I'm not alone. We are taking things out of the real world when we talk about disasters that I would deal with. We're going to take it to the virtual world, and we've got a very special guest today, Tanner Sanderson from SynchroNet. Tanner, how you doing?
Good, man. I appreciate you having me on here. It's
Yeah.
really cool little thing you do here.
Yeah, thank you. Why don't you, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, introduce yourself. What is SynchroNet? What do you do over there? What's your deal, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Tanner Sanderson from SynchroNet. I'm the Vice President of Business Development over here. And a little bit about SynchroNet. I mean, outsourced IT group. So we act as the technology company for a bunch of businesses in Western New York and beyond Western New York. But we help them with day-to-day technology support and cybersecurity and reducing their risk and exposure. And it's a crazy time to be in the business, man.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because you hear stories about this stuff, and I'm curious to know what it's actually like here in Western New York. With like what kind of threats are people actually facing? Are we being hacked by like the Russians? Should we be worried?
Yeah, the Russians, Chinese, Americans, everybody,
Oh my
man.
god. Yeah, what's going on out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's big businesses, which, obviously we see on the news and stuff, but small businesses as well. So just a little story from last week. I mean, I received a inbound call from a prospect, I guess you could say, last week, but a five-person network. So they've got five employees over there that are using technology on a day-to-day basis. And as small of a company as you might think that is, they were actively being hacked and had some hackers in their emails. And they sit there and they watch you and they watch your behaviors, who are your main emails, like who you're emailing within the company. And they sat there for a while. They gained control of the owner's email address and started sending out emails to people that they would typically email with like invoices. And five user network, they actually were able to get some money out of one of the vendors that they use. And just crazy stuff, man. It used to be the big companies you think would be targeted, but it's everybody out there, and it can be crippling to a growing or even a successful business.
So I want to follow up on that. So
Yeah.
I've seen these sorts of emails, I guess, before where you'll get an email from like your boss and or somebody you work with asking you to do something weird like buy gift cards or that sort of thing. Is that the sort of thing you're talking about, or is this more nefarious?
It was more nefarious, I'd say, but it's right around the same level. It's the same gist. So people and hackers are becoming more sophisticated in the way that they do things and ask for things. Once something gets old, like the gift card scheme that you're talking about, people start to catch on. Then you have to start to think of different ways to do essentially the same thing. So that's all this was, is a more developed and kind of a superior way that they've come up with to do essentially the same thing. So you just gotta be careful out there.
So that kind of leads me into my next question. I mean, you've been in Synchronet. You said 3 years.
Yeah, yep. Just hit
How?
my year
I
mark
mean,
here in September.
even in the well, congratulations.
Right.
In those 3 years, like how has this changed? How has this level of risk changed? The type of attacks? I imagine things are becoming more sophisticated, not less.
Oh yeah, yeah. So definitely more sophisticated. And email, like the email game. Emails are not as secure as people might think, and I mean that leads me to talk about like two factor and like really locking down on your email and your emails, your employees' emails, and if I'm an insurance agent watching this, then I'm looking at that as well, because one of the key things that you need to qualify for cyber insurance today is two factor. So two factor, for those that might not be super familiar with it, it's a code, usually a 6-digit code to your cell phone, or you can use like an app as well. And to be able to gain access to something like email or banking information, you'd have to put in that code just to verify that it is you that's trying to access that information. So that verification is two factor. But yeah, man, to answer your question, I mean, it's becoming way more sophisticated out there. And just as we're learning here on the good side of things, how to lock down and create safe environments. I mean, there's people on the other side of things that are spending just as much time and have the same amount of resources that are trying to do the bad thing. So really, I mean, it's a lot of stuff that people hear about on the news or they see in movies, and a lot of it can be true when it comes to ransomware and just hacking that you see on a day-to-day basis.
So I want to backpedal a little bit to something you mentioned because, like you said, there's a lot of insurance agents that do watch this.
Yeah,
The intersection between what you do in kind of cyber insurance, which is in itself also sort of an evolving
yep. But it
insurance
touches each other.
product. Yeah. What do people typically need to qualify for that? If I decide for my dentist practice or something that I should
Yeah.
probably have this insurance, what do I need that's even going to get me through the door to qualify for that kind of coverage?
It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, every industry is different. I know you said dentist, but if you look at like financial institutions versus metal manufacturers, everybody's got their own little requirements to be able to qualify for cyber insurance. So a lot of it is going to be industry specific, but there's some simple things that kind of overlap. So I can go over some of the simple stuff. And, if there's anybody watching this or looks this up after and they have more detailed questions, feel free to reach out to me and I can give you a more detailed answer. But so two-factor, I kind of covered. It's becoming essential in most of the cyber applications I'm seeing today. But passwords as well. I mean, you have to have good passwords, usually 12 characters, capitals, special character symbols, everything good that goes into a strong password. And don't worry, I mean, if you can't do the passwords yourself, you can use the password generator and come up with a pretty decent password. And you can do it that way. But two-factor for, each employee, your firewalls, your switches, administrative accounts, so the accounts that oversee the business in general. And some pretty common things that we see on cyber applications are like, A, do you have a firewall? And part B to that is, is your firewall encrypted? And I'm not going to go into what all that means today, but again, feel free to hit me up after. Another thing that we're seeing pretty common on cyber applications today is phishing and training. So, as a business owner, are you doing phishing and training help for your employees and, testing them on a regular basis to make sure that they know what to look for as far as like emails that are coming in that, might be sent from an unverified source or somebody that's, trying to be malicious. So phishing and training for employees is becoming more and more relevant. I'd say even within the past couple of years since I've been here at SynchroNet. Endpoint detection response, so like EDR, which is essentially just the new world's antivirus. So EDR is more it's stronger than traditional antivirus. Traditional antivirus would typically tell you like after the fact, like when something happened, but EDR is kind of scanning and it's looking for stuff before. So easiest way I can put it is it's like a proactive antivirus. So that is something that cyber insurance applications look for. Again, most recently, and backups. How are you backing up your information? How long are you keeping backups for? What's the process for that? But those are a couple of the main things that we're seeing on the cyber insurance applications. And I just saw a super severe one the other day that was even asking questions like, are you drug testing your employees? So it's a new world that we're living in. If you really look at cyber insurance and how long it's been out, it's brand new. It's the new way of the world. So just as there's business owners and insurance agents out there that are trying to figure out cyber insurance, like the cyber insurance companies are still trying to figure out cyber insurance as well. So it's a crazy world, but we're all trying to navigate it together.
Sure. Can I ask? You mentioned phishing specifically.
Yeah.
We're talking about a lot of technical stuff, but how often? What's the best way to ask this?
Absolutely.
How often is it that the core issue when there's been like a security breakthrough or something, some sort of issue, is the core issue just like somebody made a bad decision? Like,
honestly, dude, I know where you're going with the question. I'd say like 90% of the time, in my experience. I mean, I don't want to say it all starts through emails, but I'd say about 90% of it starts through emails. And that's, you thought somebody else was emailing you, you click on a link that you shouldn't have clicked on, and and they make it look so similar, it really does. So answer your question, I'd say about 90
Right.
percent
So good maybe takeaway is um, first rule of anything, I guess, is just be careful. If something looks suspicious or too good to be true, probably is. If Johnny Depp friend requests you on Facebook and starts asking you for money, it's probably not him.
Yeah.
And I mean, what else can people do to protect themselves?
Yeah, so let's say after you click on that link, like let's say you make a mistake and you're like, oh crap, damn Tanner, what do we do? First thing you should do, go change your passwords. So change the passwords. If you don't have two factor set up two factor, and that keeps people from when you click on that link and you're giving people access essentially. By changing your password, it's going to like lock them out, and it's going to keep them from being able to gain information that you pretty much would have just allowed them to. So the first rule of thumb, this goes for even simple stuff like Facebook, Instagram. We're getting outside of email here, but it's all the same. I mean, if you get hacked, change some passwords. Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, yeah, I love it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, just do your own research. I mean, you hear about it in the news and stuff, but talk to the professionals, whether it be somebody in the cyber world or somebody in the insurance world, just to try to gain the best understanding you can with this. It is new, so try to educate yourself and just stay up to date with everything that's changing in this cyber landscape. And never hesitate to reach out, guys. I really appreciate you having me on here, Dan. Okay, I love prizes. I really do. Oh, another spin. That's fair. Let's go. Yeah, you can just dial into SynchroNet over here. Google the number and find it that way. But my direct number over here is 716 423 2723.
Perfect.
But I appreciate you having me on here, man.
Sure thing. Yeah. We'll have you again soon. Thanks everybody for watching, and stay safe out there. Don't give Johnny Depp any money. It's not him on Facebook.
The gift cards aren't real.
They are not real.